So last year around December, I was walking down this street and I was going toward a meeting called Mafia Night, which they have in English language once a month. It's a really fun game, but it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I just had this compilation from the Holy Spirit that I should go to this meeting, which is up here around the corner near Metro Minskaya at a little language school called Les Petits Français. And I really didn't want to go, and there's like a huge snowstorm blowing, like horizontal snow, and it was getting in my face, freezing on my eyebrows. It was horrible. I just kept thinking, no one's going to be there tonight, and it's too late. It ends in an hour, and why even go, And twice I turned back because my feet were so cold, my hands were so cold, that the Holy Spirit was saying, no, you should go, you should go. And I just thought, who knows what will happen, but clearly the Holy Spirit wants me to go, so I'm going to go. So I kept walking. Now I'm going to cut and I'm going to paste back in when I get to this school, Les Petits Français. So this is the location of Les Petits Français. Actually, looks like it's closed now, but 18 months ago, there used to be a French school here. And you can look down this road right here at 10 o'clock on a December night. This place was barren, and in fact, this brick, and what's worse is there wasn't a single footstep in it. So I realized, well, they didn't even have it this month. It's been canceled, and I came this way for nothing. So I turned back this way and started to walk home, and just thinking like, wow, I was so confident the Holy Spirit moved me to come down here, but for nothing. So I was just completely mystified, and I decided to walk home. Then when I get up, if you can see this restaurant here, Mafia, yes, there's a whole franchise of Mafia restaurants, and it's really good food, like pan-European, pan-Asian food. So, but anyhow, I get right over there, and something happens, and I'm going to go over there and I'm going to tell you the story. So I walked up and I reached the Mafia restaurant, and I looked back at these dumpsters, and there was an old woman there trash picking, and I just kind of thought, oh, maybe I'm supposed to help this old lady. So I started to pray about that, and the Holy Spirit was like, no, that's not why you're here. So I just kept walking, and you can see here's these steps. This is the entrance to the Mafia restaurant. This area normally is not there, but I looked over here where you see this little kiosk, and there were two men scuffling. One had the heavy end of a man bag, and the other man had the strap. So I figured the man who had the strap was being robbed. So I stood to watch that, and then I saw that over here on the other side of this deck, and these are only up in the summer, so in the winter they take these down. All the restaurants do it. There was another fight going on between two men, and the larger man over there kind of won out, and the skinny man ran off. So in both of these pairs of fights, including the one over here, there is a middle-aged looking man, like a more stout, heavier set man, and then some thinner men. So I kind of reasoned like, okay, these two young men have gone out robbing, and it's not going well for them because they've met some resistance. So in the fight over here to my right, the young man runs off because he got thrashed, basically. He got beat. So he ran off, and on these steps there are like three young women who are just smoking cigarettes and watching the whole thing. And I've started praying now. I started praying in tongues, and over here the larger gentleman, the middle-aged guy, bests the young man and pins him on his back on the ground, and he's basically got a chest mount, right? And so the guy from over here runs across the street, leaps up onto the sidewalk, and kicks that guy in the head. Now, something you don't know about Ukraine is when something like this happens, anybody on the street just keeps walking, and that's what's going on. I'm like the only person, even though I'm still across the street, who's interacting with this in any way. And when he does this, I just yelled out really loud, no, 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 you cannot do that. This you cannot do, right? Because I didn't know how to say, hey, don't kick him in the head. This is like not a standard vocabulary item in a Learn Russian, Learn Ukrainian kind of textbook. And you don't encounter it even in, TV shows or in a conversation on the street. Hey, don't kick him in the head. So I didn't know how to say that. So so he stopped, and they kind of looked at me, and then everything kind of broke up, and these young men walked off. And so I understood, you know, this is why God sent me out here, because who knows what would have happened if that man had continued kicking this young guy in the head. Oh, the other thing that happened was, now from over here, the second young man, seeing his friend unfairly kicked in the head while he's down, and after he's yielded, returns, and he pulls out a gun. So the second man, the guy who kicked him in the head, comes back, and now they meet. You see this little table here at this Capiarna. They start facing off there, and this guy pulls out a gun, and then they end up scuffling. They end up over there, and the guy points the gun in the air and discharges it. And the older guy, though, is completely unfazed. He doesn't flinch. He just keeps facing off with this guy, and that's how it kind of ends. Eventually, they separate. The man over here lets up his guy, and the two young men cross the street. Well, you can see this is at Dreamtown too. It's a kind of a really huge mall, and over here there's like a Dreamtown 1 further down that way. But anyway, that's the story. So you know, it was a blazing snowstorm. I wasn't interested in going out at all, but I did, and somehow I feel like, who knows what would have happened if he'd kicked that guy again, broken his neck, injured his head, handicapped him, or severely injured him lifelong in some way. You know, people, God, He's interested in helping not only the guys who are getting beat up, but also the guy who does the injury. Because if he had seriously injured that person, it's Ukraine, but you'll go to jail for that. You know, you go to jail for that. You can't beat someone and injure them, especially after the guy's yielded. You know, there are common sense laws even here in Ukraine. You know, God sent me here for a reason, and it didn't make any sense to me at the time. And even when I arrived, you know, down at the end of this long road here, and looked left, I looked to the right and saw that Les Petit Francais was closed, and no one had even been there all night. You know, you have this moment of like, what am I doing? You know, like, I had been over there and turned back twice, freezing feet, freezing hands, and I just thought, oh, this is ridiculous. You know, no one's going to be there, and there's every kind of excuse to turn back. But when God is pushing you forward to go do something, trust that the Holy Spirit knows you, and that you know the Holy Spirit, and move forward in faith, because you just never know, like, what's going to transpire, or what's going to happen, or what difference it'll make in your life or in the life of someone else. This is the man from Modesto, reminding you as always, pray.